Take Brazil. For the first time, a whopping half of Brazilians don't have access to safe and nutritious food. That's according to Rede Pensan, a local food research group. Lines are swelling by the day at soup kitchens and food distribution.
By the Food and Nutrition Research Institute of the Department of Science and Technology, 62.21% or 6 in 10 Filipino families suffered moderate or severe food insecurity.
Food insecurity has skyrocketed through the pandemic for many Americans, but it's been an issue long before COVID for many military families.
And the Philippines has trailed behind Southeast Asian neighbors in terms of agriculture production. Food Security Secretary Kiko Pangilinan admits the agriculture industry has been neglected in the past 25 years.
Poor diet-related risks are one of the leading causes of death worldwide. Millions around the world are either eating insufficiently or eating unhealthy foods, resulting in malnutrition. Not only does the existing food system pose a threat to the health of the people, but also to the planet. Agriculture consumes 70% of all water and produces high amounts of pollution and waste. Globally, 1/3 of the food produced is lost or squandered. Due to this, up to 811 million people are hungry despite the fact that more than enough food is being produced to sustain the world's population. Apparently, the pandemic has worsened the food insecurity globally.
So walk our audience through what have been the biggest drivers during the pandemic for the increase in food insecurity globally.
Well, it's really had to do with the global food supply chain and distribution. It goes all the way from making sure that people could get the seeds in order to plant it, that the food that was coming out of the fields could be transported and then get into the shops so that people could buy it. So the global food supply chain has been disrupted at each of those points. And because of that, it's impacted people along the entire global supply.
Meanwhile, the pandemic itself has increased hunger and malnutrition around parts of the world. Take Brazil. For the first time, a whopping half of Brazilians don't have access to safe and nutritious food. That's according to Rede Pensan, a local food research group. Lines are swelling by the day at soup kitchens and food distribution points in the country. Experts say the sharp increase in food insecurity is due to job losses caused by the pandemic.
In the Philippines, however, agriculture production dropped by 3.3% in the first quarter of 2021, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, due to the health crisis that affected the country over the last few years. Moreover, the Philippines has the highest number of food insecure persons in Southeast Asia from 2017 to 2019, with 59 million Filipinos suffering from moderate to severe lack of continuous access to food, according to a United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization report. Another problem that has been gradually affecting the world today is climate change. Climate change is already altering the Earth's temperature, precipitation, and hydrological cycles, which is mostly due to the use of fossil fuels. CO2 levels in the atmosphere reached record levels in 2020, hitting 417 parts per million in May. The past decade was also said to be the hottest on record, resulting in wildfires, falling permafrost, and causing the warmest temperatures in Europe and Arctic Circle.
As the temperature continues to rise and the effects of global warming have been increasingly severe, climate change poses a challenge to the agricultural sector across the globe. The advancing climate change and the vulnerability of food security threatens the livelihood of farmers, including the availability of food. Farmers face countless obstacles to deter their crops from the change in weather and provide solutions on how to make their job resilient and sustainable. They also experience unsafe working conditions due to the increased heat temperature. On top of that, the following phenomenon is one of the many reasons why climate change can heavily affect agriculture. Floods. Rising sea levels increase the intensity of flooding on farms in coastal regions. These catastrophic floods destroy crops and livestock, accelerate soil erosion, contaminate water, damage roads and other infrastructures. Drought. The lack of adequate precipitation and shortage of water can be just as damaging as the overflowing water from floods. Severe droughts cause the withering of crops, harm in livestock, and exhaustion of farmers in different parts of the world. The increase of temperature makes drought even worse, and in some cases, produces destructive wildfires. Changes in crop and livestock viability. Farmers choose plants and animals that are well suited to the environment. As those circumstances change rapidly in the decades to come, many farmers will be forced to reconsider some of their decisions, which may mean making new investments, finding new markets, and learning new ways. Nationwide, the decline in agricultural production or sudden loss of crops and livestock will have far-reaching consequences, such as rising food prices and severe food insecurity. The law of demand and supply states that if there is a low quantity of supply, there is a higher quantity for demand and vice versa. Capitalists will take advantage of the situation and buy these crops for farmers at a low price and resell it to the public for a higher price.
How can agriculture adapt to climate change? Some adapt to the conditions imposed on them by the region's climate since the inception of agriculture, but some recent human-induced climate change throws them some unexpected curveballs. Extreme heat, floods, droughts, hail, and windstorms are some of the direct effects. Fortunately, there are many practices that farmers can adapt, that changes that can be made in our agricultural production system to make the system more resilient to our changing climate. In Laudato Si', Pope Francis stated that there is an abundant clear that agriculture commands influence over immense resources, the land that feeds us, that houses us, the waters, the soils, and its nutrients. According to Pope Francis, this relationship between human beings and creation has become confrontational and it's based on mastery and dominion rather than wise stewardship, let alone faith care.
Technological contributions. Pope Francis talks specifically about these new biological technologies. According to the Holy Father, the use of genetically modified organisms and chemical fertilizers make their contributions without endangering God's creation. He frames the debate by noting that those who possess particular gifts for advancing science and technology should use as these God-given talents to serve others. Using this, it is not easy to offer a general judgment. On the other hand, although there is no conclusive proof that GMOs are harmful to human beings, GMO agribusiness can create problems, such as the concentration of productive lands among few owners, the disappearance of small producers, and the destruction of the ecosystem and the loss of opportunities for rural workers.
Big businesses' efforts. According to Pope Francis, big businesses see it as a noble vocation that needs to be put its creativity and integrity at the service of humanity and the common good. The Pope addresses businesses that prioritize short-term profit in a way that harms people and the earth. For example, some developing countries can practice subsidiaries which will assist other farming structures, such as family farming in some regions, subsistence farming in others, to flourish alongside agribusinesses. Coordination involving multiple stakeholders from government to private sectors should act together across multiple chains. government should ensure that there is enough institutional framework on the land to use to implement GMO practices to avoid competing priorities and collaborations among various stakeholders to help coordinate policies across climate change, land use, agricultural, water, and other relevant sectors that otherwise may not align.
Here are some ways to mitigate climate change as citizens. All of the ways that I will mention are easily done and could be done by anyone. The first way is to participate in Earth Hour. You turn off all power once a month for 1 whole hour. Second is to turn off electrical appliances when they are not being used. An example of this is lights, electric fan, air conditioning, etc. Third, try to avoid using plastic. Using reusable products like metal straws, avoiding plastic utensils in restaurants, bringing eco bags or reusable bags when shopping, and overall, avoiding single-use plastics. Lastly, when going to certain places, when it is walking distance, walk instead of driving there. These simple things, when done regularly, will make a big difference. In conclusion, climate change is affecting agriculture as crops and livestock are dependent on weather. And with climate change, maintaining these crops and livestock would be very difficult. Food security would also be a problem caused by climate change, as with the difficulty of maintaining and constant growth of crops and livestock, food production will get slower, harder, and more scarce. Therefore, as citizens, we should be more open to mitigating climate change in our own ways. With the mentioned possible solutions, it is our responsibility to take care of our home and do our best to maintain and improve the Earth's situation.